All right, guys. So we got to talk about a story that I really have no pleasure in talking about, even though I warned you guys that this could happen a long time ago when it first started happening, probably 5 or 6 months ago, which is the possibility of Trump being removed from state ballots due to liberal/never Trump activist groups working overtime to overthrow our democracy.
Flashback.
I'm telling you guys, don't be surprised if Trump starts to just outright win against Joe Biden consistently in the polls. Don't be surprised if that's what Democrats start pushing for. If they say Trump's disqualified constitutionally, we need to empower and embolden and encourage Democratic local election officials to just remove his name from the ballot because he's not qualified, right? This is what they're doing. They are activists that are quite literally pressuring state and local election officials in their states to do that because they believe that Trump is disqualified because of the 14th Amendment, right? Again, who is to decide that? Who's supposed to enforce that? Again, yeah, well, not outlined in the Constitution, but again, liberals, right? They're going to take it among themselves to try to do it. And this is what you're going to see. I warned you guys. I told you, I was like, look, they're going to use this prosecution here from Jack Smith as an excuse to continue to push this idea, right? And now that the indictments are not working, right? If anything, they're helping Trump. Again, this is going to pick up a whole lot of steam. Don't be surprised if you see a lot more of this being pushed. And again, if Trump is outright winning in the polls, right? If he starts to kind of move away from Joe Biden, take a commanding lead, you most certainly are probably going to see this idea become more mainstream. I'm just saying. I'm saying you heard it here first. Yeah, so lo and behold, as Trump starts to pull away from Joe Biden in the polls, guess what you're seeing? Now, all of a sudden, the Colorado Supreme Court rules Trump is disqualified from presidency for January 6th riot, using the 14th Amendment as their excuse for why they're trying to overthrow our republic. Now, this case I've been following, and previous attempts by these never Trump / liberal activist groups have been rejected. Now, the latest one that was rejected, the judge basically said, well, I think that Trump participated in an insurrection, but I'm too uncomfortable with actually trying to disqualify him from the ballot because of how ambiguous the Constitution is regarding what qualifies as an insurrection or who qualifies as an insurrectionist. Now, Trump nor anybody involved with January 6th has actually been charged, criminally charged with an act of insurrection. However, the Colorado Supreme Court seems to have lowered the bar to make it so they can arbitrarily decide that Trump has committed an act of insurrection, even though he has not been criminally charged with that at all. Okay, and this is what they're doing. They have essentially removed Trump from the Colorado ballot, saying that he is not eligible to be president. And this is a case that most likely is going to go to the Supreme Court.
Very significant indeed. I want to bring in the rest of our team right now. Ellie Honig, how stunning is this decision?
Well, Wolf, this is a historic decision. It's a momentous decision. As the Supreme Court itself says, they are in uncharted territory here, but it's really important to keep in mind, this is not the last word here. This is almost certainly going up to the U.S. Supreme Court, which can review the decisions of a state Supreme Court. In fact, the Colorado Supreme Court anticipates that possibility, and for that reason, they put their own ruling on hold until January 4th, anticipating that it will go up to the Supreme Court. The practical consequence as it stands at this moment, though, is that Donald Trump will not be on the Colorado ballot in the race for president in 2024. The Supreme Court almost certainly will take this up. It's also important to keep in mind, for the broader context, there have been dozens of these challenges filed across the country, and 18 or so of them have either failed, been rejected, or been withdrawn by the plaintiff. So this is really an outlier. The Supreme Court is going to have the final say. The consequences here are, of course, enormous.
Norm Eisen, are you surprised by this decision?
Well, Wolf, the law and the politics have collided. And in this instance, law has won. there's a logic to the decision. The 14th Amendment provides that insurrectionists may not hold office. The lower court found that Donald Trump had engaged in insurrectionist activity. That's consonant with what the January 6th committee found.
Yeah, so you've seen that, you heard that, okay? It is almost certain that this case will be heard by the Supreme Court. This is the second case that the Supreme Court could possibly hear that will essentially affect whether or not Trump can be president in 2024. There's another case in which the Supreme Court is going to hear that effectively would decide whether or not Trump has immunity from prosecution in relation to the January 6th case against him. So the Supreme Court, thank God that they're conservative, okay? It's a conservative Supreme Court. However, I don't think that it necessarily guarantees that things are going to go Trump's way. I'm not going to go that far yet, even though I'm hopeful that it will, right? That, at least when it comes to Trump being eligible to be on the state ballot in Colorado, I do believe that the Supreme Court will side with Trump. Like, they're not going to just allow what clearly is an attempt to overthrow our republic, right? Since this is the type of language that Democrats want to use. But in the meantime, some GOP candidates are speaking out about this. Mainly Vivek Ramaswamy, who is basically come out and declared that if Trump is not allowed to be on the ballot, then he is going to remove himself from the Colorado GOP primary. And he's encouraging Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley to do the same. Take a look.
They have just tried to bar President Trump from the Colorado ballot using an unconstitutional maneuver that is a bastardization of the 14th Amendment to our U.S. Constitution. This was a provision, Section 3, that was designed to bar Confederate members, people who switched to the Confederacy, from actually being able to serve. That's very different than what's at issue here, to say the least. This is a hollowed out husk of what the country was built on. The basic principle that we, the people, select our leadership, not the unelected elite class in the back of palace halls. That's old world Europe, not the United States. That's why I'm making a pledge today that I will withdraw, I pledge to withdraw from the Colorado GOP primary ballot unless and until Trump's name is restored. And I demand that Ron DeSantis and Chris Christie and Nikki Haley do the same thing, or else these Republicans are simply complicit in this unconstitutional attack on the way we conduct our constitutional republic. I refuse to be complicit in that. I think what they're doing is wrong. And I think it's up to Republicans to step up and stand up with a spine for our country's future. That's really what's at stake. Whether we, the people, actually have a say in deciding who leads this country. Yes, it would be easier for other Republicans like me who are running in this race to say, hey, if Trump is sidelined, there's our opportunity. No doubt other candidates are probably privately celebrating with their corporate sponsors. That's not the right thing to do. I think the most useful thing that every GOP candidate can do right now is to join me in that pledge. I'll say that I will withdraw from that Colorado GOP primary ballot until Trump's name is restored. This belongs to the people, not to the unelected Democratic cabal of judges in Colorado or any other state. And I demand that Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley and Chris Christie do the same thing, or else they're complicit in what this security state is trying to do to shut down Trump. I stand by that, and I expect them to do the right thing.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do the right thing. I don't think that they're going to do the right thing at all. And the reason why I think that is because I think that they're in on it, right? I think that they're in on it, guys. I mean, one of the reasons why I was almost convinced that they would find some way to remove Trump from the ballot, some way, somehow, is because it does not make sense for somebody like Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley to be running against Trump, knowing that they don't have a snowball's chance in hell of actually winning, unless they know in their mind that Trump is likely to get removed some way, somehow. Either he is convicted of one of these charges, which doesn't automatically remove him from the ballot, but again, it makes it so, it might be more difficult for him to get reelected, considering how he would be a convicted felon or convicted criminal at that point, or he will be removed from state ballots that make it a lot harder, basically impossible, for him to win and become president of the United States. Because now that the Colorado Supreme Court has ruled on this in the way that they have, best believe that is going to motivate more liberal activist groups in these states to test these waters and to push more of these lawsuits to have Trump removed from the ballot, right? That's the point. That's what these liberal activist judges are trying to do, right? They're trying to motivate a lot more of this stuff. Now, again, hopefully the United States Supreme Court rules against this and that they reverse this. However, we'll see. Okay, I mean, you know, it's 6-3 right now on the Supreme Court, conservative, the liberal. Again, I think that, again, this is just liberal activism here because the whole Colorado Supreme Court is made up of liberals. And, you know, this is them showing you that, yeah, we really don't believe in democracy, right? We don't believe in people's right to decide who gets to be president of the United States. We don't believe in any of that stuff, right? We believe in basically authoritarianism. Again, meanwhile, while the Democrats are canceling the primary out there in Florida, which, again, the mainstream liberal media has nothing to say about. Nobody's really sounding the alarm on that. You know, again, I find it fascinating, right? I find it so fascinating how these people that always are screaming about democracy, democracy, democracy don't actually really give a damn about democracy. They sit by and they cheer as literally democracy is being overthrown right in front of our faces, okay, by what are clearly liberal activist judges, right? So, again, you know, I think personally that some of these Republicans knew that this was going to happen. This is why they're in the race. This is what they're banking on. And that's why you're not going to see them take a principled stance and actually withdraw from the Colorado GOP primary, you know, as a protest against what is happening, right? You're not going to see them do it. They're not going to do that. They're going to stay in the race, okay? But again, once again, you have Vivek leading, right? Leading the pack, right? He's far ahead of everybody else. But I keep hearing this thing about Vivek being fake. He's a plant, right? He's Obama. I keep hearing all this stuff, but yet I'm not seeing any evidence that the guy is Obama or that he's fake, right? The actions that he's taking do not indicate that he's fake at all, right? I'm just saying. This is not what a fake person would do, okay? I'm just saying. So with that being said, we'll see, right? We'll see. First of all, if the Supreme Court takes up the case, I'm sure they will. And how they rule on this case, again, is going to set a new precedent in this country that could tear this country apart. That's what could happen here. So, hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.